Well, guys, we're almost there. The Expanse Season 5 starts on Wednesday, and Emmett and I are going to be covering it on the channel. Well, Emmett, 3 words. What do you think of The Expanse?
Absolute bloody legends. It's such a good show. Like me and Antoinette, my partner, we for the channel binge watched all 4 of the previous seasons in a very short time frame, and it absolutely blew us away, and we loved every moment of it. So
Yeah, like, to be honest with you, when I first watched it as well, very recently too, I've only watched it in the last sort of 4 or 5 months, and when I first watched it, I was like, how did I not know about this already? Like, it just seems like such a, like, when you're watching it, it seems like the scale of the show would be a show that's known by everyone. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's like I feel like sci-fi and fantasy always are fighting an uphill battle when it comes to like general audiences. If you know what I mean, it really always has to be something special like Game of Thrones or Harry Potter to really break through those doors
Yeah.
a bit. And that's not to say that The Expanse isn't. I think it is much more deserving of like getting a lot of attention than a lot of other shows that we see on the at the moment. So again, hopefully, eventually, people will cotton on to it. But I'm glad that it's still continuing on with Amazon Prime, and.
Yeah, yeah. So just before we get into a little bit of a chat about The Expanse and looking forward to Season 5, I just want to let you know that we will be covering it on the channel. The thing is, we're not going to break our schedule, though. I know it comes out on a Wednesday, but, we're not sitting here, like, needing views to survive. We're doing this because we want to and we enjoy it. So we're not gonna break our back to get it out on a Wednesday, because we both have very busy lives. So we are gonna have it out every Saturday on our Sci-Fi Saturday day. And I think
with the branding, we've
Yep.
got that branding locked in.
Locked in, yeah. So we got a couple of days to think about it before we talk about it. So I think that's probably the better way to go. And if that way, we'll only really get people watching the videos who are true deep Expanse fans who still think about it a day or two after. Like, I think the whole culture of like getting it up on the day it comes out just to sort of bleed the fans dry. I don't really. I do partake in that a little bit myself. Like, I try to get the Mandalorian videos and the Star Trek videos up as soon as possible, but at the same time, if I'm a day or two late, I don't really mind, because if you love the show and you want to listen to the show, you want to talk about the show, it shouldn't really matter that it comes 2 days after the show come out.
It's definitely something we've seen in the sort of the YouTube era of fandom and fan criticism and stuff like that, where like everyone gets like their takes out, and we all have very like immediate reactionary takes on stuff.
Yeah.
I do personally. I really love videos that go like deep dive, like sometimes weeks, months, or even years after something is completed, and you really get to explore it. But that's not to say that there isn't merit in what we do in the sort of day-to-day breakdown, because it's kind of like it is that sort of water cooler or classroom talk, where you're with your friends, you're invested in that episode, and you want to talk about it with people.
Yeah. You've got to get your thoughts out before you move on to something else, which is fair.
Exactly.
It's fair enough. But we're gonna be sort of there every Saturday chatting about The Expanse. So we'll hopefully, we will be starting that next Saturday, bar some catastrophe. So that's just so you know, guys. But let's have a little chat about what we're looking forward to for Season 5 now. So the way we stand, it seems that Season 4 was very much a setup for a new trilogy of 4, 5, and 6. I think people have explained to me in the comments before that The Expanse is separated into 3 different trilogies. So I really love the first 3 seasons. Absolutely brilliant in my opinion. Season 4 was a bit more slow, a bit more sort of methodical in setting things up. Is that how you found Season 4 as well?
Yeah, generally, I think obviously season 3 was very fast paced with everything that was going on. We were at the brink of war and stuff like that, so there was a lot of like intense emotions and stuff like that. But at the end of like season 3, we had opened up literal whole new worlds, so to speak. So like a whole new status quo is created. So before we can really mix up that status quo or explore that status, we need to set it first. And I think that's what a lot of season 4 was doing. It was setting the boundaries for what to sort of expect in the coming seasons. So I think it needed to be a wee bit slower. We can't, unfortunately, we can't be like, all nitro all the time. We need like a little bit of like slow build up before we can really appreciate that.
Yeah, and like speaking of slow build up, I cannot wait to find out Amos's backstory, because he's I would say he's probably my favorite character, and like there's been such strange. To be honest with you, such strange moments for me in the storyline of Amos. The fact that he's so cold at times and he has no empathy, and then he's sort of slowly building that empathy. Whenever he put down the doctor in season 3, like there's moments where his empathy is really coming through, like especially with the little child in season 4. And he had a relationship as well in season 4, which brought more out of him. What do you think of the Amos character, and where are you hoping to see the Amos character go?
It's so funny that you said this, because Amos's character in most other shows would be a character that I absolutely do not engage with at all. Like, the sort of big, bulky, sort of psychopathic,
macho man.
The macho man. Yet in this show, he's really engaging in this. Like, he understands how almost alien he is to other people.
Yeah.
In like an undercurrent way, and he wants to understand people. But, like, the way that his life is, the way that his brain works, he understands that, like, he's not the same as other people. And, like, he's trying to learn. And it's very endearing in a lot of ways. Like, his relationship with, what was the name of the father character from season 3? His best friend. I'm forgetting it off the top of my head. The botanist that he...
Oh, yes. I can't remember. Oh.
I remember. So.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, not so, but like his building relationship with him was absolutely great. The little empathy moments that he gets, but like Amos always has this unpredictability, because he's so direct.
Yeah,
I feel, in both his personal relationships and his method of achieving goals. Like.
I just love, like, in the first few seasons, like if like he would just kill people. Because especially, like, the guy from Aero Station, who was Miller's friend, and like they just killed him because he wanted to do something different, or he was sort of saying, "Oh no, we're gonna wait here, or we're gonna go without Miller, or whatever."
He wanted to leave Holden and Miller behind.
Yeah.
But Naomi had given the order that they were waiting, and he was attempting, and then just, instead of having any sort of like talk about this, Amos just like guns him down. That's like he is every problem is a nail to him, and he is a hammer. If you get me, like that's the way his brain works.
Yeah, and I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. And whenever they had the doctor, remember the doctor who was like part of the big protomolecule experiment, and Amos. Amos was talking to him, and Amos realized like that the doctor didn't have any empathy because of an operation. And in that moment, the way Amos was sort of acting that way in that moment, I thought to myself that, did he have that operation too? I thought it was sort of built, but it's interesting that I think Amos's empathy was cut off in a different way, and we're going to find that out in season 5, hopefully, which I'm really looking forward to. But another thing, you wouldn't have seen this unless you watched my videos. I don't know if you did, but in my videos, I actually did a crazy prediction, because it's not true. I know it's not true, but basically, there's a moment at the start of season 2 where Naomi's talking about Amos to Miller, and she says that she refers to it in like a Pinocchio way, right? Yeah. And I thought to myself, like, is it because he's like not a real boy, And I thought, is he some sort of android,
An artificial man? I wasn't on the, like, in season 1. I was like, because he seems so simple in a lot of ways. I was expecting him, because like in the early season 1, everyone's being accused of being spies for different things. Alex gets accused of being a spy for Mars. Naomi gets accused of being a spy for the Belters and stuff like that. I thought it was going to turn out that Amos was a spy, because he was like so simple and didn't seem to have any real agenda. Like, I thought it was going to, but like, no, he's just exactly what it says on the tin. That's what Amos is. What you see is what you get with the man. Like, there is some, some stuff. He's a bit. I find his relationship with that scientist so interesting, because he was seeing so much of himself in that scientist, and he didn't like that, and it threw him in a weird way. Also, can I just say the fact that there is an operation that you can go under with magnets that can just completely destroy the section of your brain that affects empathy is genuinely one of the most terrifying elements that has ever been discussed in Expanse. Like, the idea that like they can just shut that off in your brain, and you'll never have empathy again. It's just terrifying.
It's kind of a very realistic take on like the Vulcans from Star Trek.
Yeah, it's if you remove all sort of emotion from a person and
Yeah.
just have it that they're focused on this sort of stuff, like the what that can bring out in people, it's very
Yeah,
very intimidating.
just before we move off Amos as well, I just love the idea as well that his little bit of his character way, like he loves Avasarella's dresses and he loves like what she wears. You know, he's
Well,
always
it's
asking what was she wearing. You know, he just loves
yeah.
he loves her fashion sense.
Well, it's like Amos has again because we keep on getting like little like little crumbs, little tidbits of his past.
Yeah.
Like it seems like he was involved, like he had to work at a brothel at some stage when he was younger and
Hmm.
stuff like that. So like I think like Amos has an appreciation for like beauty in a weird way. If you get me, like
Yeah.
I'm very excited to learn more about Amos's life because it's like, what kind of life shapes the man that Amos is? You
Yeah.
know, it's just, and I love the way that his relationships have developed with people. I think his and Holden's friendship is one that I've very much engaged with because like Holden began the series basically being like, this man's a psychopath. I need to get rid of him. He's dangerous. And then
Yeah.
in season 4, they're like, blood brothers.
Yeah.
We'll fight for each other till the end, and I love that bond that they've sort of built up as well. It's very good. You know?
Yeah. And what do you feel about the pull that Naomi has? She has like a pull towards the Belters and a pull towards the Rocinante crew.
Yeah.
Um, So what was your take on like that on that sort of pull with her own? I think she decided in the end that she left the Belters and went back to the crew of the Rocinante because the way that the Belters were moving wasn't aligning with her own morals or her own vision of what should be done. Which
Yeah, and I also
yeah.
I also think that part of it is that she views the crew of the Rocinante specifically as like her family to a
Yeah.
certain extent.
Mhm.
They've been through so much together, and the like.
Yeah, no, I agree. What do you think about her changing her accent based on who she's talking
Oh
to?
yeah, no, I find that's such a little like when she's around Belters more, the Belter accent
Yeah.
comes out, and then when she's with Holden and stuff, she sounds more inner. I think that's a very it was such a it like when we seen her in season 3 and she was working on
Yeah.
the big Belter ship and she was just speaking like with the Belter accent. It was like such an adjustment to sort of like deal
It
with.
was
But
it
then
was an adjustment for me. I had to adjust to that big time. Like it was
yeah,
very strange,
yeah,
very
but like
strange to me.
it totally makes sense because like
Yeah.
she's lived like in that sort of in betweeny place like for her life, so she's had to be able to be like how to pass as a belter, how to pass as a someone with the from the inner worlds and stuff like that.
Yeah,
You
people from Northern Ireland wouldn't know this, but to me, the Belter language really reminds me of Ulster Scots.
know. Yeah, God. Right, it makes about like I can understand about as much of the Belter language as I can of Ulster Scots sometimes.
Yeah, it was my father-in-law actually was a principal, and one time he got a whole learning resource pack of stuff in the Ulster Scots
Ooh,
and it was like
language.
and it was like half the words were the same as English and stuff. Imagine like it's the schools in like on Earth or in Mars having to have
Yeah.
like extra resources for like the Belter language. That would have it's interesting.
Hey, maybe that's something we'll explore at a different stage.
Yeah. But
Because they
yeah,
do explore those little political little bits.
they do.
With which is great.
Yeah, like the idea of like being on basic and stuff. You know, like on Earth, like they have like basic income. And I think the whole lottery system as well, in terms of bringing people into the upper echelon of society. The whole Nancy Gow, Julie Mao, Nancy Gow.
Yeah,
The whole Nancy Gow storyline against Avasarala
yeah,
was really interesting to me. I enjoy those little political moments.
yeah.
People have called this Game of Thrones in space. I made a video essay about how this seems to be like the next show after Game of Thrones. But I think a lot of people thought when they watched that video, I was just going to say it's Game of Thrones in space. That's not what I mean at all. Having said that, when they do go into like sort of real politically things like in Game of Thrones, I really enjoy it as well. Yeah,
It's like it's undeniable. Like once you start talking about like if any show is big and has political aspects and is set in a world not like our current world, it's obviously going to get comparisons to Game of Thrones. That's unavoidable. If
well,
you get me.
the Game of Thrones comparisons for me were much more thematically and stuff. Like,
Mm.
for example, like in Game of Thrones, like you got the White Walkers who are amassing this army of the dead coming down, and that sort of overshadows all the political games going on. And
And
that's
the proto-monocle in
exact same for the
yeah,
proto-molecule. Yeah.
it is one of those. It's a recurring theme in a lot of stories where like there'll be political intrigue and fighting, but there'll be like an exterior threat that's looming and gets closer and closer, but people are too engrossed in the political problems to focus
Yeah.
on the true threat, so to speak,
Yeah,
which
exactly.
is very interesting. I am very interested to see what's going to happen with Nancy Guy and Christian, because there is a, for those of you who don't know, there is a comic miniseries that's coming out, released by Boom Comics, that I'm going to pick up. That takes place between season 4 and season 5, which focuses on Christian and Bobby. You know, Bobby, our good old Bobby, our good old ex MMC officer.
Yeah.
And it's going to be focusing on her sort of journey in Luna a little bit, which I'm excited for. But like like, if I can make a speculation on the trailer, I think the asteroid's actually going to hit Earth. Like, I think they're going to fail to stop it. Like, I don't think it's going to wipe out Earth entirely. I think they're going to, limit the damage, but a lot of people are going to, because I think, I don't know, and like the fact that like Christian has been moved to not Mars, to the moon, so that she wouldn't be affected if Earth was hit.
Yeah.
And I feel like they're setting up for a huge devastation of Earth that like Christian is going to have to then pick up the pieces from. That's sort of part of my speculation.
I think you could be right, and I think there's going to be because it makes sense thematically as well. Because the whole idea is that now they can go through this gate and they can go to multiple different habitable worlds, and like sort of the human race is going to be spread across the universe, spread across the galaxy, right? That's the idea. And so I would think the next step in the storyline would be to take away humans home.
Mm.
And if you take Earth out of the equation, maybe not fully, but in a large way, it almost
devastated, like absolutely devastated in such a way that it messes up its political power in a massive way.
It would turn the show. It would sort of be the next propelling point to really hone in that theme of no home, really venturing out to find somewhere to be. I think that would be a really interesting way to go with it. Marco, obviously
the gold rush that they were talking about previously in season 4 with these new worlds would become even more pitched.
Yeah.
Because now there would be a lot of Earthers looking for somewhere to settle down, as well as the Belters.
Yeah, exactly. And like I'm interested to see like the break off group of the OWA. Led by Marco. I'm interested to see how they get on and like sort of the threat that they bring. I'm interested to see whether that's a threat that's going to carry out across further stories after this series, or is that just going to be the big bad of this season and he's going to be taken away? I don't really know how that's going to play out yet. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, obviously for those watching, we haven't read the books yet. Both of us have the first novel here at the moment that we're going to be tucking into because we've loved the show so much.
Yeah.
But we don't know what happens in the books, so again, no spoilers in comments.
Yeah.
So, but we're just speculating on what we're seeing in the show at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm very curious, especially considering Marco's relationship with Naomi and the fact that he has their son, and he has possibly been not possibly has been sort of radicalizing his son for a long time, probably, and it's a complicated issue. I definitely think that like Earth is going to experience some sort of climactic shift, even if the asteroid does not hit, because we've already seen with the two other powers in the solar system, Mars and the Belt. The opening of the gates has completely shifted things for them. The Belt are looking for new worlds so that they can settle and have better lives. Mars has basically abandoned the terraforming project.
Because, there's no need for it now.
There's no need for it. There's new worlds that they can move on to, and that completely shifts Mars's direction and left people like Bobby completely adrift in the world. Whereas Earth at the moment still has Earth. They have obviously this massive job crisis that they need to resolve, but it's not been as affected as I think Mars or the Belt. So I think we're going to see, especially with Nancy Gao in this position, I think we're going to see a huge shift one way or the other in Earth policy.
Yeah, and I hope it's I don't know who I'm rooting for in this show. It's really great. Like the crew of the Rocinante is the answer, really. But I in terms of like which power I think is in the right, I think it's very gray. It's very gray.
shades of grey. Like the crew of the Rocinante are outsiders in the sense of like they are just individuals, a lot from each of the different sort of settlements trying to do their best. But at the same time, I do. Christian is such a good example. I think in a lesser show, Christian would be a completely irredeemable character that you would absolutely hate. But like I am totally engaged with her and her struggles, and I want her to like succeed at stuff, even though she has done. We begin the show with her torturing a belter using Earth's gravity and stuff like that, like stuff that should make you fairly against her. Yet we see her like make mistakes, suffer guilt from those mistakes. Genuinely try to like fix some problems. So she is still very engaging, and I think season 4 was sort of very interesting from her, where like her ego sort of took over and really negatively affected a lot of her relationships.
Yeah, I found that really interesting because, like, even though we've seen there are dangers of going through the rings, like the fact she wanted to be so conservative in terms of going through the rings, to be honest with you, I think I saw her way and I was on her side in terms of the Nancy Gow and her, but at the same time I was like, just fucking go through the rings, love. I want you to
go through the rings,
fly through the rings.
I want to see these new planets.
Yeah, exactly.
I completely logistically understand, but I think it's a very real parallel to the real world. Sorry, a real intense parallel to the real world, where people want immediate solutions to problems that are oftentimes much more complicated than it's easy to sort of say. So Nancy Guy is like, think of like, we're going to explore these new worlds. Sounds great, but as we've seen in season 4, a lot more complicated than it's made out to be. There's forces that they don't understand, but it's hard to explain that in a political debate. You have to be there, and like you would have to be on that planet to see all the crazy stuff that they went under to really understand. Because like Earth has been, majoritively speaking, so secure, and like a lot of these people are without purpose, without like a job or anything like that, and want something to do. They haven't really experienced the frontier themselves in a long time. So, it's there's going to be trouble. The gold rush is going to heat up. There's no denying that.
Well, that's bad for the people in that universe, probably, but great for us as viewers.
Oh, good, fantastic for us as viewers. We're gonna have a ball of a time. They're maybe not going to have as much fun.
Right, guys. Well, we're going to be back next Saturday for our first review of the Season 5 episodes. I think the first 3 come out at one time, so we'll watch them and get sorted for that. And then every week after that, the new episode that comes out, we'll be reviewing that. And we've got plans for the future in terms of what we're going to do with this Saturday show. Emmett and I aren't going anywhere, so we're going to be keeping going. I think we've got a few episodes left of our Star Trek series, so if you've been watching Star Trek Discovery and you haven't caught our videos on that, why don't you check out those? We have an in-depth conversation about each episode. Apart from that, Emmett, is there anything else to add before we see these guys next week?
Oh, God, I hope they all survive. I know they won't, but there's a deep part of my soul that wants everyone to make it through. Okay.
Yeah, like no one from the crew of the Rocinante has actually died yet. I suppose Miller, you can't really count him. Also,
Miller shed before they actually got on the Rocinante.
Yeah, he wasn't a member of the Rocinante. I mean, Shed was very short-lived.
Yeah, they closed the door on Shed quite quickly. So.
Alright guys, we'll see you next week. Can you subscribe if you want to catch us every week, and like the video, that'd be great.
Ring the bell, etc, etc.
etc. Smash the like. Alright. Thanks very much guys. See you next week.